Welcome to Virtually Analog. I'm Lex, and I am here today to talk about an upcoming game on Kickstarter called Wastelandia. And this game is very special because you can currently play it for free on Board Game Arena. I will be going through the rulebook and talking about how to play this game. A pretty thorough, in-depth tutorial video, as well as playing a round on Board Game Arena to show you guys what it's like. If you guys want more information about the game, you can go to the URL wastelandiagame.com. I will also put a link to the Discord, so you can go there, get an invite from us, or ask other questions about the game. So yeah, we're going to jump right into this rulebook. I think that one of the things that called me the most to this game was the art style. I absolutely adore this kind of very much Adventure Time inspired aesthetic, kind of a post-apocalyptic, cartoony look. I think it works really well for this game. It really makes the themes shine through, as well as the writing. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of this flavor text. Normally, some people like to kind of skip past this when going through a tutorial, but I think it adds a lot. So I'm just going to this rule book is pretty short. It's only 10, 11 pages. I'm going to go through it as best as I can, really breaking down what each of the pages is talking about, and hopefully it will give everybody a very good understanding of how to play the game. So, without further ado, it happened. 1990. Some genius had the idea to make an army of military robots. Wouldn't you know it, they turned on humans. The Deathbots hacked the nuclear codes, launching nukes everywhere. Few humans are left, and the Deathbots remain on their mission to eliminate the rest. Some young people survived the radiation. You're one of them, and you live in Wastelandia, their suburban wasteland. You and your buds avoid the Deathbots at all costs, but in Wastelandia, you have to watch your back as bots, bullies, and boneheads are looking to bust you up. So who are ya? You love to kick back with some chill vibes, but Wastelandia is full of crud munchers trying to bully you around. Your ragtag crew will stand up to them in 4 challenging boss battles. Pictured right here, some resident crud munchers. So you can kind of get a feel for the, theme, and some of the humor that's in this game. Table of contents, we'll just be going through it. What are you doing? It's co-op. It's cooperative boss battling game. You roll your dice and divide the dice among the abilities on your player board to use their effects. Your goal is to complete a battle. You'll need to defeat the baddies before running out of time and without any player being defeated. The journey: after each battle, you'll loot, gaining a new ability. And how to win: complete 4 battles to win the game. It is indeed wicked hard. I think currently there's about 40 games that have been played on Board Game Arena, and only 2 have been victories. So it is not an easy game. I think it's pretty well balanced for a co-op game. But yeah, so on your turn, all players will take turns battling the baddies. Each player turn has 5 steps. Step 1, reveal the baddie ability. And so Board Game Arena, if you're playing this on Board Game Arena, some of these steps happen automatically. You will see a little yellow dotted line on which baddie ability will go, and the game will trigger all this stuff. So you don't really need to worry about it. And then same with step 2, the game will go ahead and roll your dice for you. It's important to note here that you start with 5. There's different abilities that other players can do that will give you more dice, but the maximum amount of dice you can have is 7. Now, here's something that's very important to understand, is that re-rolling dice is always optional. There's a mechanic in the game called these power cubes that you can spend to re-roll the dice, and the game will prompt you every time you roll dice if you want to re-roll them. It can be a little confusing at first when you're playing this on Board Game Arena. The game immediately asks you if you want to re-roll dice, and when you're first learning, you don't know if you want to or not. So here, this little call out really helps. Why would you re-roll your dice? The abilities on your player board require you to spend specific dice to use them. Pages 5 through 7 will teach you about the different types of abilities and how to use them. So we'll be going through those later. But yeah, basically you spend power cubes each time you want to roll any number of dice for any rolls during the game. unless stated otherwise. Step 4, this is where you'll be using your player abilities. You'll be playing as many dice as possible most of the time to trigger abilities. We'll go through a bunch of those later. And then the baddies will go. And what's great about Board Game Arena is that the baddies will do the game will do all the baddie abilities for you. And but it's still important to know how those work, because sometimes Board Game Arena will just automatically do stuff and you might not know why it did something. So there's different abilities in the game. The first type are weapons. A lot of weapons deal damage or fear. And fear is a really neat mechanic in the game that we'll get to in a second. But damage, just like most co-op boss battlers, you'll want to be dealing damage to defeat all the enemies. And on these damage cards, there are these black dice symbols up in the top right, up in the top left corner, and you need to place the dice that you roll on those cards in order to trigger these abilities. Now, the top part of these ability cards kind of give you an overview of what the cards do, and then the bottom will tell you some special bonus abilities that the cards will do if you meet certain criteria. So this little heart wound symbol is damage, and anytime you will deal damage, you will reduce the health, and you complete battles by reducing all the baddies' hearts to 0. Now, a lot of these abilities only deal 1 or 2 damage, and some of the baddies can have a lot of health. So how do we deal more damage? We do that using fear. You can scare baddies to deal more damage. Each time you deal damage to a baddie, you get additional damage equal to the amount of fear the baddie already has. So if you deal 1 damage to a baddie who already has 2 fear, then the total damage dealt will be 3 damage. So that's a really important distinction to note when you're looking at these abilities is, are you doing damage with this little heart symbol, or are you causing fear with this little frowny face symbol? The other important thing to note is who these abilities are targeting. If you ever see this little, scope symbol with a 1, that just means you get to pick which baddie you deal damage to. And when you see one that says all, it will deal all the damage to just the baddies. So keep that in mind. Items. Moving on to items. A lot of items will give you more health or let you manipulate dice. Anytime that you see this little heart with the up arrow symbol, that means you will gain more health. Each player can have a max of 30 health, so that's important to know. Similarly to the weapon cards, whenever you see this little scope symbol with the all, that means all. It will target all of players. So if it's over a positive ability, it means it triggers all the players. If it's a negative ability, it hits the enemies. So keep that in mind. And then these effects also have any additional effects must be done if anything happens, if you do anything on the card. So keep that in mind. Sometimes cards can have multiple dice requirements. All of them have to be filled in order for you to do this card. So this card takes 3 dice, and 2 of those dice have to be matching. That's what this little equal to symbol means. So it's really important to keep health. You keep your health up and to stay alive. Something I didn't mention yet is that with fear, not only the baddies can get fear, you can get fear too. And the maximum amount of fear that any character can get is 10. So be very careful. You want to be avoiding fear and dealing fear to the baddies. So there's a lot of abilities that have dice manipulation. That's something that's really good about this game, as opposed to a lot of dice chuckers, is there's a lot of way to mitigate your luck. And some of these can be very well utilized to kind of, I have really, really bad luck in dice games, and these abilities are great for picking up. Here we have some special loot. They have unique effects. Some require power cubes. I've kind of talked about a little bit before. Most of the time, power cubes are used to re-roll any number of dice. With these abilities, you have to use a power cube in order to use them. Sometimes you'll see a symbol that has the power cube symbols. That means you just gain those cubes. It's really easy to burn through a lot of your cubes. So having an ability that can get you a lot of more cubes can be really good. Every character also has these 3 basic abilities: healing, courage, and power. Healing, so pretty self-explanatory, but you can only do it with an even numbered dice. So usually you want to be using your 6s here to heal for 6. And it's important to note that only applies to you, not to all players. Same with courage. You use odd dice to remove fear. So that can be really useful. When you have a lot of fear, you can use a 5 dice to reduce, half of your fear if you have 10. And then power lets you get more reroll, more of the reroll power cubes. Any number of dice. If you don't have anything better to do with a dice, you can throw it on the power. Another thing I really like about this game is that every dice can be useful thanks to some of these abilities that have the any slot. It's important to note that if you place a 6 on here, you will get 2 power cubes instead of 1. So after you roll your initial 5 dice, like I said, you can optionally re-roll the dice. We kind of already went through this. This gives some good examples of at the start of your turn, you roll all your dice, you decide what you want and what you want to re-roll. And I'll go through when we're playing on Board Game Arena how to do that so that you don't accidentally reroll things that you don't want to reroll. But this rulebook is phenomenal. It has a lot of really good examples. And if you want to, take the time to pause this video and read through everything, please feel free to do so. You can also find this rulebook on the Wastelandia Discord, which once again I will be posting the link to on this video. Something that's important to note is that all of your abilities can be done in any order. And this game is really about using your dice in the most effective way possible. So you want to be dealing fear before you attack, because that will deal more damage. You want to be healing before you kill all of the enemies, because once all of the enemies are dead, the battle is immediately over. And if you didn't use any dice to heal, you wasted those dice basically. So it's also important to note that each ability and each dice can only be used once, unless an ability specifically states, use this dice again. So there are stuff that do that. So moving on, the rulebook gives you a lot of examples of different abilities. I think you guys can read these on your own and kind of get the idea for yourselves. There's so many different abilities, I can't go through them all. But like I said, after this breakdown of the rulebook, we'll be going. We'll be playing around pretty soon here. So then after we have used all of our dice that we want to, you can use as few or as many as you want. Then after every person's turn is the baddie's turn. So these most baddies have these 3 abilities, A, B, or C, and at the start of the turn, the game will tell you which ones will be triggered. There'll be a little yellow dotted line around the one that's going to be triggered, and every baddie will trigger their ability. So most of the time it's dealing damage, most of the time it's dealing fear, sometimes it's a combination of both, and some of them will be dependent on how many dice, what kind of dice you have. So like it gives a good example here of the Clankbot is the first thing that you fight in this game, and they have an ability where they deal 2x damage a person when they trigger this ability, and that X is the total numbers of 1 and 2s that you have showing. So it will hit you for, if you have 3 2s at the end of your turn, it will hit you for 6 damage. So you have to keep an eye on, what the enemies are going to be doing, and if your dice affect what the enemies do. There's a lot of really neat puzzle situations you get yourself into where it's like, oh, I really want this 6, but the baddie's about to hit me for my highest dice number, so it's important to look at the baddie's abilities as much as possible. But something that's important to note is that your dice face result, whenever it says, how many dice you have showing, that includes dice that you have used and are on your card. So just because you have spent a dice on a card doesn't mean that dice necessarily goes away. It goes away at the start of your next turn. But if you use a 5 on a dice and a baddie ability says, deal damage based on how many 5s you have, that 5 counts. So there's some abilities that let you reroll dice, even dice on other cards, or manipulate your dice in other ways. So just keep that in mind, that all dice showing, even dice on cards, count towards these kind of abilities. So, and then the last thing to go through is the loot phase. This is one of the best parts of the game, in my opinion. Time to get new stuff. After each battle, flip to the last page of the battle book. In Board Game Arena, it does it all for you. It'll pop up the rewards, and you will gain a new ability, a reward, and a turn order token before the next battle. So this will, I think, make a little bit more sense once I actually play around with this game, how the loots work and how the rewards. But I just want to mention that the different combos for the different abilities that you get are really what makes this game shine. So you might play a single round of this game and think, well, this is kind of fun, but it seems kind of limited on what you can do. There are some really crazy cool abilities that you can find, and some of these abilities combo really well with other abilities, and the pure joy that can come from this game when you find a really, really good combo to take down a 50 health death bot at the end of the game is what makes this game worth playing. So I think with that, we can go ahead and start playing a round of this game. Here we have a game set up. This is a 2-player game. When you get this game physically, when the Kickstarter eventually delivers, you will be able to play this game solo. On Board Game Arena, you have to play 2 through 4. I found that the game really works best at 2 or 3 players. I could be wrong about that. You might enjoy it at 4, but I like to play it at 2. So I have a hot seat here. I am playing as both Wicked Willow, who's one of my favorite characters. She has a wicked bow and arrow that's really good, and Crazy Carl, who is also very good. This is a pretty sweet combo. So you can see when you load into a game, this is what you're going to see at first. And something that's really easy to miss is the battle mat book. So if you scroll down past these players, there's 2 things I want to point out here. These battle mats have flavor text. A lot of the story is in these little text boxes. They're not necessary to the game. If you want to skip them, that's totally fine. But I think the writing is great. I really highly suggest the first time you play this game, and even after, whenever you run into new enemies, to scroll down and take a look at this text and do silly voices for the players section. But the other thing that I want to call out here is if you keep scrolling down, there's a really straightforward kind of overview that kind of goes over exactly what we just talked about in the rule book. So if you ever have any questions, that's the place to check first. There's also a link to the rule book. There's 2 versions. Make sure to look at the updated one. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started. This battle bot, the Clank bots, the battle number 1 Clank bots, we have a scenario success of 97.66%. I'm going to let you guys read this flavor text. I thought about doing the voices and doing the fun stuff, but I think that's better left to you guys reading that stuff on your own. But there's also some fun little backgrounds on the enemies here that's fun to read that don't really have anything to do with mechanics of the game, but when you're playing this game physically, you'll have a health and fear dial, which you'll keep down here, but Board Game Arena does it for us and puts it up here. These bots start with 8 health each and 0 fear. And you can see over here that the their ability will be fork stab, where they will be doing 2 fear on one player, which is whoever is going to be the active player. So they'll be doing that at the end of the turn. If I'm not able to kill one of these clank bots, then Wicked Willow will unfortunately be gaining 4 fear. I apologize if some of the stuff is really hard to read. I will be hovering over stuff, and I will be very thorough about like reading the stuff that's on this card in case you guys can't see. Maybe I will, if I have time to edit this, I will blow things up and try to make this as accessible as possible. But anyway, so to play this game, we're going to start with Wicked Willow. Like I said, the game rolls 5 dice for us. The BGA implementation is really nice in that it also shows you the clank bots. You don't have to keep scrolling down to see what the clank bots current status is and what they're going to be doing. It's all kind of right next to you. I will mention that on mobile it can be kind of hard to read everything that and like zoom around, but so the first time you play this game, I would recommend doing it on a computer. But once you get the hang of it, there's not really many problems playing it on the on Board Game Arena on your phone. So it's really nice that they made this game for free on Board Game Arena, and you can play it on your phone. I will mention one more thing before we get into this game. The Kickstarter is going to have more characters and more enemies and a full scenario book. There's still a lot to explore on this BGA implementation, but it's only a fraction of what the actual game is going to consist of. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting my hands on the physical version of this game. But anyway, let's get going. So we have these battle bots, and we rolled 2 5s, a 6, a 1, and a 2. My smoke bomb ability is pretty good right now. We currently actually I just realized you can't see our health. I need to change that. We'll do something like this. Yep, that should be good. You can see our health and our fear over here. So right, Wicked Willow's abilities. Let's go through them. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, I don't think it's in the rule book, is that for the abilities, you basically can have up to 4 weapons, a max of 4 weapons, and a max of 4 of the equipment. So they're color coded, it's items. It's items and weapons. Those are the 2 different types of ability cards, and you can have 4 of each, as well as your 3 basic abilities down here. So, let's go through these items real quick. So the smoke bombs cause confusion. They take 2 dice of any kind, and then a 3rd spare dice of any. And all players will gain 7 health, and all players and baddies will gain 1 fear. So the fear is not great, but the health is really good for us, and dealing fear to the baddies all in one go is pretty good. So I think that's what I'm probably going to be using my 2 5s for. And then we did not roll a 4. We could re-roll for a 4 if we wanted to, but if we had a 4, we could do shurikens, which when you do shurikens, you take that 4, you place it on this dice, and then you immediately roll it. Anytime you see that little re-roll symbol, that means that the dice that you used gets re-rolled, and abilities will trigger based on that roll result. So if you roll 3 or more, you'll deal 1 fear to any baddie. If you roll 5 or more, then you can use this card effect again. So if you just roll 6 after 6 after 6 after 6, you can deal a ton of fear to these baddies. So CD shurikens can be pretty cool if you're lucky. Not just being lucky, you can use reroll tokens to reroll those dice that you do after these abilities as well. So keep that in mind. The fanny pack, when you place a dice on here, you can place any dice and you can flip it to the opposite side and then reuse the dice. So a 3 can become a 4, a 5 can become a 2, a 1 can become a 6, and vice versa. So that can be the fanny pack is really useful for manipulating dice. All right, so those are our items. Let's take a look at our weapons. The bow and arrows have focus shot. If the sum, so you use a 3 to activate the bow and arrows, and if the sum of all your dice is showing 12 or less, then you'll deal 8 damage instead of the 2 damage that you normally do. So if you roll really low, the bow and arrow can be, like with all of your dice, the bow and arrows can be really, really powerful. And then, speaking of powerful, is this powerful stick here. If those of you who've been playing Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom will know the power of a stick, especially if you have something infused to it. But in this game, it seems, at first glance, it seems a little wimpy. You'll only be dealing 1 damage to 1 enemy, and that's if you roll a 3 or higher. So that can be, pretty big risk for only 1 damage. But what's important to note is that that stacks with fear. So the stick can really get you out of a sticky situation. Like if I have 7 fear on this Clankbot and I hit it with a stick, it will kill it. So it's really important to note. So now that I've gone through all the abilities, we've already gone through healing, courage, and power. I think I'm going to keep the 6 for the power, because getting reroll tokens, like I stated before, I'm very unlucky. I didn't roll a 3, but that's okay because I have more than 12 anyway, so hitting for 2 is probably not worth it. At the same time, though, going for that shuriken seems pretty fun. I have no way of guaranteeing a 4. Oh, wait. If I roll a 3, I could use Fanny Pack to flip. Let's go ahead and reroll this 1 and the 2. Let's go ahead and try it. Let's see if we can get a 3. So, I did not, but I did get the 4, so I don't need a 3 anymore. So, like I said, when you first enter into a game, it's going to ask if you want to reroll these dice that you rolled. You might not know why, why you would want to until you give a good read to all of these different abilities. Each character has a different starting set of abilities, and there's 6 different characters that have been implemented in this game. So anyway, we got these dice results that we want. We're going to hit OK. We're going to go for power first to get, so you can see up in that corner, we went from 7 to 9 of our power cubes for rerolls. And then now we are going to do smoke bombs. We're going to go 5, 5, 2, confirm, to get us more health, up to 22 health. Everyone gains fear, but that's okay. The enemies aren't attacking this turn, so we can get rid of that fear next turn. And then I'm going to do the CD shurikens, which I just love the art in this game. Like these old little broken CDs, like as a 90s kid, it's just amazing. Made into shurikens. Okay, so roll. Not a great starting result. It won't do anything. So I'm going to click on it, and sometimes it can be hard to see, but if you click on it first, and then it'll let you re-roll those dice. So I'm going to click. Oh, that's even worse. What did I say? Very unlucky. Okay, there's a 6. Let's go ahead and confirm a 6, because then not only will it deal 1 fear, but because it's higher than 5 or higher, we'll get to use it again. So let's go ahead and deal 1 to Clankbot 1. That's another 6. That's perfect. Let's deal another one. Actually, I think I'm going to split the fear up. I don't know if that's the right move, but that's the move we're going to go with. Okay, we have 7 power cubes, so let's just keep rolling. Let's confirm our dice and just no, let's keep going. What the heck? This is for YouTube. Let's go. Oh, another 6. Perfect. All right. I think we're down to 5 power cubes. I think that's going to be good. Let's go ahead and get them both on 3 fear. It's pretty good. And now it will be Crazy Carl's turn. So we will quickly go through Crazy Carl's ability here. Crazy Carl has the battle cart with Fury Road. And what the battle cart does is if you have any 2 dice that are equal value plus a 3rd dice, you will deal 2 fear to everyone, or to all baddies. And then each player rolls any one of their dice. Important to note, it can be dice that you've already used on other abilities. And each player who rolls 3 or less gains 2 fear. So the battle cart can be a really good way to deal additional fear to baddies, but it also is kind of a dangerous to do without rerolls. Oh man, this roll would have been great for Wicked Willow, for the bow and arrows, but unfortunately, that's not what we get. But we have some pairs, so Battle Cart can be useful, or the Super High Tops, which we'll just cover next. So the Super High Tops are one of those abilities that are really helpful in the multiplayer game when you're playing with other players. If you have two of the same dice, you place them on this card, and you'll put 3 power cubes on this card. Other players can spend those power cubes on their turn to change a dice value by 1. So that can be a really, really powerful way to, if you get a bunch of power cubes on this card, you basically don't need to rely on the luck of the roll at all. You can't be kind of screwed by bad rolls anymore. Spiked gloves. Any dice can go on spiked gloves. And they will deal a certain amount of fear to one enemy, and that will be the total numbers of 1 or 2s you have showing. So this is actually a really great roll for spike gloves. I could do 3 fear to any one. So that might be what we do here. We haven't hit any enemies yet, which is unfortunate, but we've done a ton of damage. Okay, so I'm sorry, not damage, fear. All right, now let's get on to Crazy Carl's starting weapons. He has the tripod turret, which takes a 3 dice, and it deals 2 wounds, and it will deal that to X amount of baddies, and the X being the total amount of 3s that you have showing. So if you have multiple 3s like I do, you can deal damage to multiple enemies. So that's, our roll is pretty good for that. And I've already gone over the stick and the basic abilities, so we don't need to do that. Man, this is interesting. Okay, so I think we're happy with this dice. I don't think we need to reroll anything. Let's confirm it. All right, can we kill all of the bots here? Let's see. We can deal a base of 2, so that would put both the enemies at 5. And then we could deal 2 more damage with 3s to both, which would be 5 damage. No, it would be 7 damage. We're 1 damage off to killing both of these. So I think that's still our best bet, though. Or we could guarantee a kill on 1 with the spiked gloves. Can we do all? Do we have enough dice? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we have enough. All right. Well, let's do this first. Let's do this, and oh wait, we do not want to use our 3s. Okay. So if you ever start to commit to an ability, and you click on an ability, use it, and you realize you don't want to use that ability more, you might freak out. You might think you are unable to undo it. Go ahead and finish clicking on the dice, and before you hit confirm, just hit cancel, and it'll back out and let you do another ability. So I'd still want to do this battle cart, but I don't want to use my 3s. I want to save my 3s for my turret. So I'll do 3, 1, and 1, and then confirm. Wait a second. I didn't click those in the right order. 1, 1, and 3. Confirm. There we go. We've dealt that much to the baddies. Let's go ahead and use the spike gloves with this one. Oh, wait. We don't want, we have to roll for the battle cart. I almost screwed up there. So we want to keep our 1s for the oh, actually, this is tough, because we want to keep our 1s and 2s. Okay, I think re-rolling this 1 is probably better, and it turned out to be a 1, so that's fine. That deals some fear to me, but I can live with that. And now it's back to Wicked Willow's turn to choose a dice to re-roll. Let's get it a 6. That's fine. That means nothing happens. And now it's back to Crazy Carl. And now Crazy Carl will use the spike gloves with the 1. Confirm. And we'll give Clankbot 1 8 fear. And then we will use the tripod turret ability to mow these clank bots down, killing one for dealing 10. And you might, okay, so let's walk through that a little bit, because sometimes Board Game Arena can happen automatically. If you're ever confused on why something happens, it's very important to check out this game log over here in the right hand side. If you're playing on mobile, it might be a little icon at the bottom, but the game log will really explain what's going on, why something triggered. So I activated spike gloves, and that made the clankbot gain 3 fear. And then I activated the tripod turret, and so the clankbot had so much fear, it had 8 fear, and I dealt 2 damage to it, to 1. But because it had 8 fear, it actually took 10 damage, which killed it. The other one only had 5 fear, so it took 7 damage, so it's down to 1. So now I won't drag this video out any longer than it needs to be. I'll go ahead and just whack this other one with my stick here. And if that doesn't work, we'll shoot with the bow and arrow. That's not good. We rolled a 1, and if you remember with the stick, you need 3 or higher, so let's re-roll it. That'll work. A 6 will do it. So the battle bots are dead. We have something I didn't show you guys, but on these, let's close this real quick so I can show you. On these boards, it'll show you the victory condition, which is defeat all baddies or 6 turns or less. If you take more than 6 turns, at the end of the 6 turns, the game is over, you lose. So there's a bit of a timer on this game. But then you have these optional challenges as well. We're playing a 2-player game, so if you beat the baddies in 3 turns or less, you get the challenge reward, which is gain the super reward instead of the regular reward. So let's show this loot, and first it'll show you each one of these columns are basically what you will take if you choose this loot. So if you really want to go first next turn, you can choose this column, and you'll get the squirt gun. You'll get this super reward which means you will remove 6 fear, which could be really good. If you did not meet the optional challenge, you'll just get the regular reward. So I'm not going to go through all of these different abilities. I'll let you guys figure out all these crazy combos and crazy abilities on your own. But it's just important to note that when you take one of these columns, you gain all 3 of these. You'll go 4th. So in a 2-player game, you'll go last. It's a turn order for the next battle. You'll gain either a regular reward or a super reward. A lot of these are really self-explanatory. And then you'll gain an item. So I think this video has gone on long enough. Thanks everybody who has stuck around for the whole thing. As a little reward for you, you'll get to know how to play this game right now, today, for free. If you click on the Discord link in the there'll be 2 Discord links, the Virtually Analog Discord and the Wastelandia Discord. Either one of those links will take you to a Discord server with me in it, Lex Judex. You can either DM me or tag me, and I will personally add you to the alpha for this game, and play a game with you. Play a game of this. I've been loving this game. I will play as many games as people want to play. So thanks everybody so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time.